Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here. We are jumping right into an incredible framework for conquering the IGCSE English Language B directed writing tasks. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on the famously intimidating Section B. So if you're looking to really refine your writing, elevate your arguments, and, figure out exactly what examiners are actually looking for behind the scenes, we're unpacking all of that together today.
Let's just be real for a second. Are you completely tired of getting poor marks in Section B? Because honestly, we've all been there. You spend precious exam time staring at a blank page, or worse, you write frantically for an hour only to get a paper back with a grade that simply doesn't reflect your effort. It's incredibly frustrating to feel like you have these great ideas in your head, but you just kind of lack that secret formula to get them onto the page in a way that actually gets rewarded.
Well, our ultimate goal for this explainer is to fix exactly that. We are targeting a massive 25 plus marks. Now, I know that might sound like a super high bar, but it turns out the frameworks we're walking through today are the literal keys needed to unlock those top tier marks. Seriously, this isn't about natural born talent. It's really just about discovering the rules of the game and then playing them perfectly.
Okay, here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with maximizing Section B marks, then look at adjusting tone, the DAF-Forest persuasion technique, the sandwich method, ambitious vocabulary, and finally, provoking shock or sympathy. Let's dive into Part 1, maximizing Section B marks by unlocking AO1, AO4, and AO5.
To win the game, you really got to know how it's scored, right? Section B is worth a grand total of 30 marks. Here is exactly how that breaks down. AO1 gives you 10 marks just for point collection. This basically means pulling relevant info straight out of your unseen texts and using it. Then AO4 is the big one, worth 12 marks. This is entirely focused on craft, purpose, register, audience, format, and tone. You absolutely must write in the correct format with the right voice. And lastly, AO5 offers 8 marks for your spelling, punctuation, and grammar, plus your use of ambitious vocabulary. Understanding these 3 buckets is literally the foundation of your success here.
Moving on to Part 2, adjusting tone for audiences. This is all about adapting your voice for peers versus elders. A super critical pre-writing step is figuring out exactly who your audience is. You have to adapt your register to match them perfectly. For instance, if you're writing an informal article for your peers, your tone should totally be chatty. You might even use meme-style language, and humor is definitely encouraged because it builds a connection. But on the flip side, if your prompt asks you to address elders, a committee, or some formal audience, you've got to pivot. You need logical, highly formal language that shows respect. Misjudging this is, hands down, the fastest way to hemorrhage those AO4 marks.
So, to lock in a consistent tone, always ask yourself, is the purpose of this text to inform or to persuade? Regardless of your answer, a really solid high-level strategy is to maintain a positive and slightly formal baseline. I love to think of standard English as your smart interview close. Just like you dress up to impress someone at a job interview, you use proper grammar to impress the examiner. And while humor is fantastic, implement it subtly so it doesn't accidentally derail your entire argument. All right, Part 3, the DAF-Forest persuasion technique. Time to start building the elements of your argument. Now we're transitioning from planning to actual execution. What's really cool here is how these specific techniques elevate a basic, kind of flat essay into a highly persuasive, dynamic piece of writing. DAF-Forest is your cheat code. It stands for direct address, using you to speak right to the reader, alliteration to make your phrases pop, facts and opinions to balance logic with your own perspective, repetition and rhetorical questions to make the reader literally stop and think, emotive language to tug at their heartstrings, statistics for hard evidence, and tripling, the rule of 3, to make your list deeply satisfying to read. You definitely don't need to cram all of them into every single paragraph, but sprinkling them throughout your essay, total game changer. Let's look at this specific example sourced directly from the materials. It asks, did you notice how I am trying to persuade the reader to spend more time outdoors instead of indoors indirectly? Now, grammatical quirks aside, this brilliantly showcases how subtle phrasing and a tiny bit of reverse psychology can hook a reader without, hitting them over the head with it. You're directly addressing them, asking a rhetorical question, and pulling them right into your way of thinking all at once.
Which brings us nicely to Part 4. The sandwich paragraph method, the ultimate structure for your essay. Okay, so with our DAF-Forest tools ready to go, we need a solid structure to put them in. Here is a foolproof framework. This logical flow basically guarantees a cohesive body paragraph. Step 1, engagement. Start with a hook or transition that grabs attention. Step 2, point. Clearly state the main argument of this specific paragraph. Step 3, evidence. Drop in a fact, a stat or some info from the unseen text to back up your point. Step 4, explanation. Don't just leave that evidence hanging. Explain exactly why it matters and how it proves your point. And step 5, engagement again. Wrap it up with a concluding thought that connects right back to the reader. That's the bottom bun of your sandwich. Knowing how to build one sandwich is great, but to write a full essay, you need a whole meal. You need to repeat this exact structural loop to build 3 to 5 really strong body paragraphs. Doing this ensures you're hitting the content requirements, successfully using the points from your reading texts, and presenting a beautifully organized essay that examiners are honestly going to love reading.
Part 5. Using ambitious vocabulary. Let's push for those top SPAG marks.
So now we're into the polishing phase. You have the structure, you have the persuasive techniques, but how do we snag those top SPAG marks? Look at the contrast here. Basic words like serious, sad, or angry. I mean, they're fine, but they aren't going to make you stand out. Instead, look at the ambitious examiner-approved vocabulary. Instead of serious, use solemn. Instead of sad, try wistful. Instead of angry, hit them with antagonistic. These words show precision, depth, and a true mastery of English.
Memorizing and injecting these exact tone words will make your writing completely leap off the page. It's fascinating how they change the whole vibe of a text. Writing a logical article, aim for an intellectual and measured tone. Emitting a warning, be cautious and guarded. What about a persuasive, slightly edgy blog post? Cynical and sarcastic could be perfect. Or, for a diary entry, sentimental and nostalgic. Identifying and utilizing these specific vocabulary pairings is exactly what separates a decent student from a top-tier one.
Finally, Part 6, provoking shock or sympathy. Let's evaluate your reader impact. We have reached the final step. When you're reading back over your work, you have to stop and pose this critical question to yourself. How is the reader actually meant to feel? Because writing isn't just about dumping words on a page, it's about critically evaluating the emotional impact of what you've drafted. True persuasion requires provoking a specific, calculated reaction. Do you want them to feel shock, anger, sadness, inspiration? If you read your paragraph back and you don't feel anything at all, well, your examiner won't either. To make sure you hit the mark, try using these advanced, evaluative phrases, sourced straight from the examiner notes, to check your own work. Ask yourself, does my paragraph provoke sympathy by highlighting a personal struggle? Does it exacerbate the controversy by exposing some hidden flaw? Does it arouse deep concern? Or maybe it presents the reader with an ultimatum or incites readers to take immediate action. Keeping these specific goals in mind as you write will drastically sharpen your final draft. So there it is. You now have the exact blueprint to sandwich your way to those 25+ marks. We've tackled the assessment objectives, how to adapt your tone, the awesome DAFR test techniques, the sandwich method for your paragraphs, ambitious vocabulary, and ruthlessly evaluating your emotional impact. But all of this begs one massive question. Now that you hold the linguistic tools to incite, shock, and persuade at will, whose mind are you going to change first? Thanks for exploring this with me on today's Explainer, and happy writing.